Halloween is getting closer, and that means the release date for Dragon Age Veilguard is right around the corner. Yet the game has failed to get into the top 50 best selling games on Steam just a little over 2 weeks to its release date, which is on Halloween. Before we get to this, I'd like to ask you, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at the Trent Report. Roll this up over at thatparkplace.com. And yes, this game has not made it into the Steam's top sellers list. In fact, it hasn't made it into the top 50 sellers list. You can see here it is in the 57th position, and it's just inside the top 30 on the most wish-listed upcoming Steam games in 28th position, according to the most recent data from SteamDB. This is not a good news, especially when you realize that it has only moved up 10 spots on the most wish-listed upcoming Steam games list since September 20th. When I took this screenshot, you can see it was in 38th position and it has now moved up into the 28th spot. It did move up from the 80th spot in the top sellers to the 57th position, but again, we'll see what that actually means, if that does indeed mean increased sales, or potentially others just kind of drop below and their sales kind of fell off, and maybe Veilguard sales kind of stayed the same. What is interesting is that if you look at kind of those most wish-listed upcoming Steam games, where when it was in back in September, it was in that 38th position there, you would notice that some games have come out since then. So the reason why it's moved up is literally because games have been released, right? Dragon Ball Sparking Zero came out, Metaphor ReFantazio, Throne and Liberty, God of War Ragnarok, The Forever Winter, and Silent Hill 2. Those were all above Dragon Age The Veilguard just back on September 20th. And that's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 6 games right there, and it only moved up 10 spots. And those are just the games that I was able to kind of see that were ahead of it. I didn't have the full list in front of me, so there might have been a couple other games that were actually there as well. So it's not like Dragon Age The Veilguard suddenly shot up 10 spots. No, it's because these games actually came out that were ahead of it. So they're no longer being wishlisted because they're literally out and you can purchase them. And then if you look at the actual number of followers that the game has gotten, it has only increased 1,887 in the last 7 days. And it's only seen an increase of 6,149 since September 20th. That does not appear to be a game that is going to be successful, especially considering the fact that this game has been in development for like 10 years. So we know that this game has probably cost at least $200 million, if not more. And it's likely that it is not going to recover those costs. Many people have been predicting that this will probably be the death knell for BioWare if indeed Electronic Arts decides to make decisions based on the studio's profitability. Remember, they have already taken away the Star Wars MMO game from BioWare. They're no longer behind that game, and we know that game actually makes them money. Star Wars The Old Republic actually makes Electronic Arts money. And it was one of the more successful products that came out of BioWare on a yearly basis when you're looking at profitability. This game does not look like it is going to be like that at all. It looks like it's going to be an absolute bomb. Could potentially close the studio down due to its poor sales. And I think you have to point out the fact that these games that did release, especially Metaphor ReFantazio and Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, these games are competition for Dragon Age The Veilguard. And these games are having wild success right now. ReFantazio hit an all-time peak of 85,961 just a couple of days after its release date. You can see that right there. There's still around 50,000 people playing right now and had a 24-hour peak of 75,851. So not a lot of drop-off. People are still playing this game after purchasing. We also had this from Atlus. The game sold over 1 million copies in just its first day. Remember, Star Wars Outlaws took an entire month to sell at least a minimum of 1 million, and that's just based on a rumor. Probably sold less than that. ReFantazio is selling over 1 million copies in just its first day. And so we kind of have a barometer here now of maybe what that looks like when we're looking at peak concurrent players. Obviously, this game was available to purchase for PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5 as well. So you do have to take that into account. But to put that in context, Atlus developed Persona 5. So this game is selling faster than Persona 5. That is absolutely wild to me. I think that just shows that people really love Persona 5 and are showing love to Atlus and that their games, the genre of games, these JRPGs, turn-based games are making a massive, massive comeback. And then we have to look here at Dragon Ball Sparking Zero as well. It hit a peak concurrent of 122,554 just 4 days ago. That was on its official release date. And it hit over 91,000 while it was in early access. So you knew this game was going to go big. And that is indeed what it did. So these games are going to be big competition for Veilguard. I think people are going to probably say, like, why would I risk on Veilguard when I can go buy Metaphor ReFantazio? I think Metaphor ReFantazio is actually direct competition. Maybe it's not necessarily in the same genre as far as gameplay, but I do think it is in the same setting. They both kind of have a medieval setting. So I do think that this game right here doing so well is really, really bad news for Dragon Age the Veilguard, because if people want to get their medieval fantasy kick, they might be purchasing Metaphor ReFantazio rather than Top Surgery Scars and Dragon Age the Veilguard. So I think this does kind of echo what we've been seeing previously. Obviously, we've seen that this game hasn't been charting very well on the Steam lists, and that seems to continue to be the case. But we've also heard from retail insiders claiming that the sales are piss poor. The initial one came from YouTuber Dr. Disaster. He said this. He says, I have an acquaintance in the retail world, someone who runs 9 stores that sells video games. And I'm hearing that these ratios that we're seeing in damn near every video release for Dragon Age the Veilguard, these ratios are correlating with piss poor pre-sales data. People are not connecting with the Veilguard because Dragon Age games are supposed to be dark and gritty, and this just looks completely soft. So he was saying that they are piss poor. We got some numbers here from Craig Skistimas, who owns and hosts the Side Scrollers podcast YouTube channel. He shared that his retail source, who manages over 900 stores, informed him that Dragon Age the Veilguard only has 1,069 pre-orders in total, while Zelda Echoes of Wisdom had over 4,400 in just the past 2 weeks. Obviously, he posted that. When did he post this? Back on September 20th. So that was in September. I actually had a retail source contact me at thatparkplace.com and informed me that the Zelda Echoes of Wisdom actually sold nearly 20 times the amount of pre-orders that Dragon Age the Veilguard did. While Skistimas noted Zelda sales were 4,400 in the last 2 weeks, the total sales, quote, were closer to 20,000, according to my insider. Furthermore, that source shared that Zelda Echoes of Wisdom actually sold out after it was released, and that Nintendo was very pleased with the game's sales and sees it as, quote, better than expected. I don't think we're going to see that with Dragon Age the Veilguard. I think we're going to see something very similar to what we saw with Ubisoft and Star Wars Outlaws. I think we're going to see softer than expected sales. I just do not think that this game is going to do well. As we've seen negative reaction on YouTube. The character designs, people don't like them. We're seeing that this doesn't really look like a lot of Dragon Age from the past. And finally, they're obviously putting a massive LGBTQ plus gay agenda into this game, and they're being upfront about it, talking about how the companions are pansexual, how you can have top surgery scars in the character creation, yada, yada, yada. So, the game is just going to be full on agenda. And that's going to be likely in the narrative as well. And it's just going to be an absolute disaster. And I hope that this game does indeed completely and utterly fail. And we can be done with BioWare pushing out this woke ideology. Just one more developer that will no longer be pushing this stuff. But let me know what you guys make of this. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, but to always speak the truth.